On March 14th of 2022, I passed my private pilot Checkride, and that gave me a certification by the FAA to fly basically whenever I want. Actually, no. That gave me certification to fly whenever I want, and conditions are VFR, or Visual Flight Rules. On May 30th, 2022, I took my first instrument flight lesson. The goal of this type of training is to teach me how to fly IFR, or Instrument Flight Rules. What's the difference? That's actually a really surprisingly complex question, but I can boil it down to this. In VFR, the sky needs to be clear so that I can see the ground and other airplanes, while in IFR, it doesn't. Okay, so why is that a big deal? Well, in the 2.5 months between those two dates, I flew 74 hours, 64 of which were cross-country, which is another way of saying that travel is a really big deal to me. Being able to use the airplane to get places is part of my motivation for why I started flight lessons in the first place. But that gets quite a bit more complex when clouds are an issue, and I can't fly somewhere because the weather isn't right. So I'm gonna get my instrument rating, but along the way, I'm gonna make a series of videos, and this is the first one that I hope will document from the very first instrument flight lesson all the way to me passing my instrument check ride. And maybe some of the things I learned along the way. Anyway, let's get started.
Do you have a dog at home?
I do have a dog at home. He's a border collie, which means he is a working dog. He expects to have a job, and the job he has taken is protect my wife and me from my children.
That is excellent.
This is Chen. He's my instrument instructor. This is the voice of the other guy in these flights that you're going to hear. Before our first flight, he and I had never flown together. So step 1 in my instrument training is me having to demonstrate what I can do. You know how I've got some videos of me practicing the private pilot maneuvers after passing my check ride? Turns out that's exactly what Chen wanted to see me do.
It's a little faster than standard rate.
Nothing beats the view out of a low wing.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, that's back on the heading, and you wanted a steep turn.
Hey, steep turn, yes sir, 45 degrees steep turn.
So, situated at, like to have 100 on the airspeed for that. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start off at east and clear to the left.
Stay firm.
Getting slow.
Good. Alright, so just as you said, a little bit slow, and then we corrected just a little bit too late there, but altitude looked phenomenal with me. Alrighty, cool. Let's go ahead and turn. Let's go heading of 050, and then once we're on a 050 heading, you can go ahead and get me set up for a slow fly. We'll do this with the full flap, so get full flap configuration.
So we did slow flight and stalls, and then he put me under the hood.
Okay, you want to take flight controls?
Yep, I'll take flight controls.
Controls?
Flight controls.
This gray thing I'm putting on my head is what the FAA calls a view limiting device. Instructors and pilots call it the hood. It simulates what it's like to fly in instrument conditions where I can't see outside and have to fly only by looking at my instruments. What Chen wants to learn is if I can do some of the fundamental things for instrument flying, all of which are done under the hood. Specifically, hold a heading and altitude at a constant speed, and then descend while maintaining the same constant speed.
Alright, good. Let's slow down to, let's do 80 miles an hour now. Good. Okay, slow down to 80. And then we'll just keep this heading of east.
State for traffic. Here is 8 miles on runway 32. State for. Incoming to traffic, Cherokee
Good.
85.
Alrighty, now let's descend down to 3,000 feet. Okay, 3,000 feet on this heading.
At 80?
At 80, yes sir. So we'll do a constant airspeed descent now at 80. I'll probably pull back more of that power. Good.
Let's get back on the heading.
Alright, now during this descent as well, let's go ahead and turn 180 degrees left towards the west, so we'll keep this descent coming down all the way to 3,000 at 80.
In a moment, Chen is going to say something that I didn't really catch during the flight.
How do you feel so far about the hood work?
Okay. The climbs and turning climbs and descents, I don't think I did very much of that in private training.
For
so
sure, yeah.
This is kind of new.
Yeah, but a whole lot of it, right? So it's like, for example, the misapproach is what we're practicing right now. We're climbing and turning at the same time and throwing in ATC calls as well. So it does get pretty hectic, but you're doing very good right now. So keep.
So did you catch it?
All the way towards the west.
During the flight, I didn't, and it was only while editing this video that I understood what he was trying to tell me. This isn't me simply demonstrating slow flight and turns during slow flight. We're actually practicing important instrument flying skills, turning to a heading at a constant speed, descending at a constant speed, a climbing turn. These are all skills that are used during an approach or missed approach. But the thing is, I didn't catch it. My brain was focused on three things: maintain my airspeed, maintain my altitude, maintain my heading, or if turning, maintain a standard rate turn. And I was struggling to do all three of those. So it basically tuned out a fourth thing. Pay attention to what Chen was saying. This was my first taste of task saturation, and as Chen mentions, it's going to get worse, because we're going to add communicating with ATC, tuning the radios, checklists, briefing the approach plate, flying the approach plate, not busting minimums, executing the missed approach. Yeah, it's going to get a lot more complex. Then, Chen added a twist.
Good. Alrighty, so how do you feel about doing a steep turn under the hood right now?
I have never done a steep turn under the hood, but let's try it.
Okay, now let's get up to 100 miles an hour first, and then let's do one to the left, okay? Okay. So we'll do one to the left, we'll start on heading west. Alrighty, that looks good to me. Let's go ahead and do one to the left.
Okay, here we go.
Little bit of pitch up. Little fast.
This steep turn was really not good. I just couldn't figure out how to get comfortable with maintaining the proper attitude since I didn't have a horizon to look at out the window and figure out whether or not I was high or low. It was just really not good. So during the next lesson, we fixed it.
Alright, so now that we're cruising now, they're kind of walk me through how are you going to do a steep turn under the hood. We're going to be a couple of things you're going to be looking for. That's obvious, you can't be looking out there. So how's your instrument scan going to go?
So the first thing I'm going to look at is this guy to get to 45. And
Good.
I think what I'm going to be doing is I'm also going to be using this dot as what I used to use as on my dash.
Good.
I'm going to try and make sure that line goes through that dot.
Good.
What I realized was that I was only looking at this part of the attitude indicator to ensure that I was at a 45-degree angle. But I was so accustomed to seeing the actual horizon cut through the middle of my air vent that I forgot that the attitude indicator is also called an artificial horizon. And I could use it cutting through the dot as a substitute for the actual horizon. The maneuver felt a lot more normal after that.
Okie dokie, here we go.
A little bit more back pressure, good.
Hey, this one is feeling a ton better.
Nailed it, yeah. Let's make sure the recovery we don't get too fast. We're a little bit fast right now. A little bit more pitch up. Good. A little bit fast as you see by the airspeed there, so we could have just pulled a little bit less power there, and then we pitched it with just a tiny bit, would have been perfect. But that one looks real good. All right, let's go ahead and do one to the right once you get reestablished.
Okay.
Big Carolina traffic, Roger 851 Pablo. We're doing deep spirals, 5,000 over high rod.
Yep, got him inside. Much better.
So trimming helps,
Much
but
better.
I'm going to have to remember when I come out to push down.
Correct, and take out enough power on this recovery here, so power can come out now. So that way we don't get too fast.
Not quite. Didn't quite end on heading.
Yeah, the airspeed and altitude much better there. Just make sure you pull out enough power to get slowed at 100 and then put the power back in.
Yeah. One of the things about this...
After that, we went to mid-Carolina so Chen could see my landings. We did a normal landing, a short field landing, followed by a stop and go, and a short field takeoff. But all of that was just so Chen could see if I could land the airplane. I'll let you judge for yourself.
It's a negative. Alright, starting return and downwind. Yeah, we got you now. Mid Carolina Cherokee 7794 November.
Brakes.
Final 20 Mid Carolina.
That guy on final is like 1-2. Full power.
Full power.
Making power. Pressure's in the green. Release the brakes. That's 40, 50, 60, rotate.
Good.
We're gonna climb out of 75, which is BY, or VX.
VX, yep.
That looks clear of the trees.
There are the trees.
Mid Carolina 15 November, left base 20, touch and go, Mid Carolina. Departure 128.32, squawk 7136.
Oh, nice.
Twin Comanche 8 Whiskey, read back correct.
You can just feel, you know when you're gonna get a greaser.
Yep.
Able to turn right, echo, taxi to the ramp.
Echo to the ramp, 74 Whiskey.
That is a firm. That's a greaser there for sure, man. Nicely done.
And that was the gist of my first 2 instrument flight lessons. It was basically an introduction of myself to my new instructor. In my next video, he's going to introduce me to VFR practice approaches and briefing and approach chart. But until then, thanks for watching.